Good evening, everyone. My name is Ivy Wilcher. I am the CEO and founder of Next Scholar Up. And tonight webinar is a part of a series, but we're going to be talking about nurturing social emotional growth. And I'm going to give you guys some strategies to help you promote positive social emotional growth within your own household. And it's only going to take us 30 minutes to go over these topics and these strategies and these tools that I want you guys to use in your household to get your babies prepared for school when it comes back up in August. And there's even some things that you guys can utilize in the home now that can help nurture that social emotional growth. So, if you're joining us via YouTube, go ahead and let me know where you guys are joining us from. Put your name in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from, what brought you out today, and what some things you hope to learn. I know a lot of times when we come to these virtual webinars, we have a lot of questions and we have things that was burning on our minds, which made us register. So if you have those questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. There'll be an opportunity towards the end of this webinar for me to address some of those things, but I do want to honor your time because again, this is a short 30-minute webinar and I want to go ahead and get started. So our agenda today, tell you a little bit about the webinar. It's called Nurturing Social Emotional Growth. Tonight we're going to talk about the importance of children's emotional well-being and some of the things that I want to touch on, which is included in my objectives, is to understand the importance of social emotional growth. We're also going to learn practical strategies to support emotional resilience within our children. And we're also going to learn how to create a supportive family environment. Again, my name is Ivy Wilcher. I am a special education teacher. I've been teaching in Northwest Indiana for the past 7 years. I'll be celebrating my 8th year of teaching this upcoming August. I've taught elementary, I've taught middle school, I've taught high school, and within this, and I'm also a mother. So within this time, I've learned the importance of nurturing that social emotional growth, social emotional learning. I know that's been a very hot button topic that some of you parents and educators have heard, social emotional learning. And tonight we're going to dive a little deeper about those things that you guys can do at home, parents, and in the classroom to better support the growth within our students. So, typo, what is social emotional growth? You might be asking yourself that. What is social emotional growth? Well, I can tell you that social emotional growth refers to the development of skills and abilities that enable our children to understand how to manage their own emotions. With the correct tools and the correct practical strategies, we hope that our children will be able to build a positive relationship with themselves and others. And it helps them to be able to make responsible decisions. So when we talk about social emotional learning, we're talking about our emotions, right? And then when we're talking about the growth of social emotional learning, we're talking about what that looks like when you're engaging with others, what that looks like emotionally when you learn how to manage and understand your own emotions. So it's a combination of both emotional intelligence, social awareness, and interpersonal skills. So it's all about your child being able to express themselves emotionally, respectfully, and their overall well being. And the reason why it's important, I don't want to forget that it's important for us because one day our children aren't going to be little, right? Or if we have little ones, they're not going to be little. Soon they're going to be going off to college. Soon they're going to be getting married. Soon they're going to be working their first jobs and things like that. So it's important to develop social emotional skills because it helps our children manage stress, cope with challenges, and maintain positive mental health. These skills are better when it comes to bettering your communication, empathy, conflict resolution, and it just overall helps foster healthier relationships. So when your social emotional learning is in check, you know how to manage your own emotions, you can improve your relationships. You'll see better progress, improve progress academically, and you'll also be able to see them to be able to support career success through their effective leadership and teamwork abilities. So all of that encompasses what it's like for our children to progress through life safely and secure in dealing with their own emotionals. So, we're going to just dive straight into some of these tips. I have about 7 tips and tools that I want to share with you guys tonight that's going to help you be nurturers, gurus when it comes to fostering social emotional growth within your own children. So, the very first tool that I want you guys to hone in on is emotional check ins, right? Emotional check ins is very important to fostering social emotional growth. Something that I want you parents to do and educators is regularly check in with your child and see how they're doing, right? See how they're feeling. Encourage them to express their emotions. And then I also want you to validate their feelings without judgment. Now, what that might look like if in the home is when your child first come in from school, you might say, "Hey, how was school today?" They might say, "Oh, it was okay. We didn't do nothing." So with that, you say, "Okay, well, what does nothing look like in school? What was the best part of that day? What was the best part of that nothingness?" Right? So you kind of got to get to probing questions, is what I would call it. I have a background in journalism, so I am very keen at asking a lot of questions, a lot of probing questions to get the answers that I want. So parents, you kind of you got to look at yourselves as little investigators, right? But with a sensitive edge, right? You want to make sure that you're checking emotionally in with your child. If they said they wasn't having a good day, validate them not having a good day. Validate them not feeling like they did anything at school, right? You can say something like, "Oh, I'm sorry that today wasn't a good day and you don't feel like you didn't learn anything. But if you was to think about anything about your day that was good, what would you say?" Or have them talk about the bad day, or have them talk about them not doing nothing, right? You can just approach that with gentleness and with ease by asking questions. But I don't want you to be aggressive and pound on like 50 questions at once. Parents, take your time, read your child's body language, look at their hands. Are they fidgeting? Look at their eyes, and are they looking you straight in the eye? Are they looking down at the ground? Because you may have to disarm your child emotionally when they come in from school right away. Maybe that's not the appropriate time to start asking them about their day. Maybe you might start with making their favorite snack and you guys having that emotional check-in over snack. Maybe emotional check-in can be done just before bedtime if you practice saying your prayers before bed, or a nighttime routine, you can do that. Or for our older children, maybe it's text messaging, right? You might send your child a text and utilize emojis, right, to see how they're feeling. So an emotional check-in is just checking in with that child, with their student on a regular basis, right? That can be one time a day, two times a day, three times a day, however many times that you do it daily. Make sure you do it consistently and make sure that is being done regularly without judgment, right? So if they're not having a good day, don't pounce on them about not having a good day. Perhaps just get to the bottom of why that day wasn't good, and then also just reading body language to know when to back off, because they might not want to talk about it at all. The next strategy and tool that I want to talk to you guys tonight about is model emotional awareness. That's a mouthful. Parents, educators, administrators, we want to be the models of emotional awareness. What this looks like is you demonstrating healthy emotional expression yourself, right? So coming into waking up in the middle of the day, do you wake up with a smile or you wake up with a frown? Right? That's you demonstrating a healthy emotional expression. Um, I'm not going to say that every day we're going to walk around with a smile upon our face, but when we engage with that child, we engage with that student, we want to have a positive disposition in front of that child, right? We want our expressions or our facial expressions or our body language to show that we're interested in hearing what he or she is talking about. That might look like having eye contact. That might look like nodding or shaking your head. That might look like you just saying that you agree with them, or maybe just simply telling them, "Well, I see your point, and I see how you can feel that way." Those are like inviting words that you can use when you are modeling emotional awareness. I heard someone tell me that sometimes you have to be the change that you want to see, right? So sometimes we might think that our children are always in a grumpy or low mood, or they might not be expressing themselves the way that we would want them to. But we have to be that example. We have to show them what it looks like to express themselves verbally, right? So we might say, you know what, mommy really don't feel like cooking today. However, I took out, some chicken nuggets and french fries that you can put in the air fryer. Go ahead and do that. That's verbal, emotional communication that can support you modeling what it looks like to talk about you not having a good day and how you might feel tired, which will open up a conversation for the both of you guys to have your own emotional check in. So, the first strategy that I gave you and the second one kind of ties hand in hand, right? So, also another thing I want to talk about is it's okay for you guys to discuss disappointment and talk about how to manage stress. Um, every day is not going to be a day of bed and roses. We're going to have days where we get disappointed. We're going to find the days that we feel overwhelmed. But I would suggest that if a verbal communication around disappointment or stress doesn't work out for you, perhaps a space in your home you could create for a stress-free corner. It could be a place in the home where you put a few books, maybe aromatherapy candles or aromatherapy oil lamps, a journal, maybe a comfy place to sit. And that can be the place in the home where everyone goes to kind of regather themselves, get their mind recalibrated before they come back into the central space where everyone else is. And that way, by that time you cool down, you can come back into the shared space to talk about what was bothering you. And just open the door up that it's okay to talk about being stressed or disappointed. And that requires a great deal of patience, but I believe that we can do that just by opening up those lines of communication, modeling exactly what we want our children to do by us doing it ourselves. Another strategy that I want to talk about tonight when nurturing social emotional growth is teaching coping skills. Um, now, coping skills could be anything you make it. But when I think of coping skills, I think of taking deep breaths, right? Practicing some type of mindfulness or prayer or yoga or engaging in hobbies that will help you manage stress and emotions. Like I mentioned earlier, having a cool down corner in your house or allotting some time for your children to decompress. Maybe it's a game or music or something that they enjoy, but you want to teach those coping skills. Just don't assume that your children or the student knows exactly what to do when they are stressed or when they are facing disappointment or having an array of emotions. You have to teach them the coping skill that you feel like will work for them at that time. I know in my household, taking deep breaths usually help us simmer down a little bit, or even taking a walk. I'll tell my son, but I'll be like, hey, I'm not, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Mommy's gonna go take a walk. And he'll say, can I join you? And then on this walk, we may walk in silence, or that might be a time for us both to have our emotional check-in for us to talk about things. So I just want to stress that these coping skills have to be taught. It can look like deep breathing. It can look like mindfulness. They even have apps that you can use that can help guide you through meditation and how to deep breathe. And those are some of the things I can share with you in my nurturing social emotional growth toolkit that can be shared with you. in the comments when you send your email. I can email it to you, and it could be something that you can use just to support your continued learning and fostering this nurturing environment that's helping your child with social emotional growth. Next up, create a safe space. It is important that young adults and just people in general that we feel like we can be safe with our emotions, right? It's important to designate a place within the home, space within the home where your child feels comfortable expressing their feelings. Make sure that the privacy and the respect for their need to be alone is something that's okay. When you're at a high peak of stress or a high peak of disappointment, you may not want to be around a lot of people. So that's something that you will have to make as a new normal in your home. I'm not saying that this gives your child permission to go and slam a door and go in their room and shut themselves off from everyone in the house. But I am telling you that it's important for you to designate a place in the home where this is where we go, where we feel like we need to decompress, where we feel like we can come here to express our feelings. Again, in this space in your home, it can look like a couple bean bags, pillows, a weighted blanket. It can look like scented candles. It can look like aromatherapy lamps, a journal, anything that will foster a child feeling comfortable to begin talking about the way that they feel. You can even incorporate some emotional SEL cards that can guide them on their thoughts and things that they need to think about as they're processing their feelings. I know something that I like to do in my home is we keep a lot of biblical scriptures and inspirational words around our home, whether it's in a notebook or actually even just the physical Bible being around when we are feeling um, stressed or feeling just unregulated emotionally. We can go to our favorite scripture and read that to kind of help bring us back to balance. So, just keeping those things around in the house that help you cope when feeling uneasy, which will open up opportunities for everyone in the home to be able to express their feelings. And that's creating a safe space in the home. It can be anywhere, but as long as it's a place that's designated, that area isn't being used for anything else. That's just a place where we all go where we want to decompress so that we can prepare to express ourselves emotionally. Encouraging empathy. This is another tip that I would like to discuss. This whole webinar is about teaching. Parents, naturally, we are teachers. I'm a teacher professionally because that's the field I decided to go into. But when I had my son, he made me a teacher as a parent. So we're always constantly going to be teaching our children something. My son is only 9 years old, but I don't believe that teaching stops once your child becomes 18. I believe that the level of teaching and parenting, it just goes to another level. So encouraging empathy is going to require for you to teach empathy by discussing others' emotions in a different situation. You may want to encourage acts of kindness, right, to help them understand the impact of their own actions on others. So, a lot of people think that, oh, well, if you treat me bad, I'm going to treat you bad. But that's not the way to win over anyone. And that's not a way to teach your child on how to live. You want to teach empathy by teaching others to be considerate of others' feelings, um, asking your child to put themselves in that person's shoes and how would they feel if that happened to them. Those are ways you can teach empathy. You can role play, giving your child scenarios based on different events that could occur or had occurred to someone else, and asking your child to be present in the moment in that person's shoes. That could also help them kind of come into themselves and kind of come into reality of how they might be feeling. Because you never really know the impact of your own actions unless you see it through the lens of someone else. So, parents, I just want to encourage you to teach empathy by discussing emotions, discussing other people's emotions, by the use of role play, by the use of just having those open discussions in your family concerning those issues. Also, another tool and strategy that I want to talk to you guys tonight about when nurturing social emotional growth is set realistic expectations. It is important that we don't send our children off to think that they are going to have to do all of this alone, right? Emotions are very big deals, and your emotions can lead you to places where sometimes they're hard to come back from. So, setting realistic expectations will help your child avoid putting undue pressure upon themselves, and it also will help you avoid putting undue pressure upon your child. I want you guys to sit down with your children and set achievable goals and celebrate their efforts rather than just their achievements, right? Everything is not going to go according to your plan or what you think things are supposed to look like. So you might say, hey, today I want you to be able to tell me one thing that you enjoyed about school when you come home. And when they come home, if they can't tell you one thing that they enjoyed, but they can tell you one thing that they didn't enjoy, that's an effort because now they're coming into themselves to be able to identify some things about their day that didn't make them happy. And as a parent, you guys, both of you guys can work through that scenario to kind of look for ways where they could either improve or how they can face that conflict to change the narrative. Just working with your child to set expectations about what they feel like a day is supposed to look like to avoid feeling overwhelmed, to avoid um, dealing with bullies, because I know bullying is a big deal. So if you just set those expectations and those goals with their child and celebrate their efforts on trying to meet that goal, that's something. Like all kids want to be praised, all kids want to be told that they're doing a good job. So even if they don't hit that goal, at least you can celebrate the things that they did to get themselves close to that goal. And trust me, that's going to go a very long way. Lastly, I want to talk to you guys tonight about seeking professional help. Now, I know that in some families and in some communities, seeking professional help can be something that's frowned upon. But I can tell you for sure, after you tried all six of the tools that I gave you on tonight, and you're still not seeing any progress towards social emotional growth within your child, I suggest that seeking professional help can be something that might be beneficial for your family. If you notice persistent emotional challenges or behaviors that concern you, seek guidance from either a pediatrician, a counselor, or a mental health professional. And those resources you can find either by talking to your child's teacher, your child's at your child's school. They might have a behavior therapist, they might have a guidance counselor, or even your school principal can provide resources. And if you don't feel quite comfortable speaking to your school about some of the emotional challenges you've noticed within your child or your home, talk to your pediatrician. They can provide you some outside resources, maybe even within the doctor office or within your medical insurance network that can be helpful into just getting some strategies. Now, I know for sure that at a lot of the schools I worked at, they did have services that supported students, and I found that it took a lot of coaching and a lot of mentoring around what social work services look like and what in school counseling sessions look like. But I do know that all children want to be heard, and if the parent isn't a good person at that time and in that season to support that student, it's okay to get help. I think there's an old saying that says it takes a village to raise a child. So just know, parents, you're not in this alone. Educators, you're not in this alone. The whole goal of my organization, Next Scholar Up, is to is to bring parents, teachers, and administrators together to work collaboratively to support our students in the home, at school, and in their community. So I never want any one person to feel like they have to support this student by themselves. And that's why we're talking about these things on tonight, so that by the end of this webinar, you'll feel empowered. You'll feel a little bit motivated on some things that you can do to support your child to help them regulate themselves emotionally. I just want to say that by nurturing your child's social emotional growth, you're equipping them with the essential skills that they need for life. I want you guys to continue to embrace open communication, empathy, and resilience to build and foster a supportive environment where emotional well being can thrive in your own home. So, on tonight, I just want to recap the 7 tips to nurturing social emotional growth is having those emotional check-ins, modeling modeling emotional awareness, teaching coping skills, creating a safe space, encouraging empathy, setting realistic expectations, and then most importantly, once you try all of those things within your home, seek professional help when needed. There's not um, any penalty to doing that. It only supports your child even the more, and it also might help you better understand the things that your child might need. Again, I want to thank you all for joining. I definitely want to be honorable of your time. I appreciate everyone who joined this webinar. If there are no questions, we're going to end the webinar and be on the lookout for an email from me so that you can get additional information about our next upcoming webinars. And you can visit nextscholarup.com to find out more about webinars upcoming. Thank you.